In 2013, a hotel elevator camera captured something investigators still can't fully explain. A young woman steps inside. She presses several buttons. But the elevator never moves. Instead, she slowly backs into the corner, peeking into the hallway, as if she's trying to avoid someone standing just outside the door. Seconds later, she steps out, looks both ways, then begins making strange gestures with her hands, almost like she's speaking to someone. But there's a problem. No one appears in the footage. Days later, that young woman would disappear, and the video would become one of the most disturbing recordings on the internet. But the strangest part of the story hadn't happened yet. The woman in the video was 21-year-old Elisa Lam, a university student from Vancouver, Canada. Friends described her as thoughtful, creative, curious about the world. Elisa enjoyed writing. She kept an online blog where she shared her thoughts about travel, books, and life. Her posts showed excitement about exploring new places, but they also revealed moments of vulnerability. Like many young people, Elisa sometimes wrote openly about mental health. She had spoken about struggling with depression and about the emotional ups and downs that sometimes followed. Still, nothing in her posts suggested anything dangerous. Nothing suggested that her trip would end in one of the internet's most famous mysteries. In early 2013, Elisa decided to travel across the United States alone. It was meant to be an adventure. She visited several cities along the West Coast, documenting the journey with photos, posting updates online. Friends and family followed along. For them, it looked like a normal trip, until late January, when Elisa arrived in Los Angeles. She checked into the Cecil Hotel, located in downtown LA. The building was large, historic, and slightly worn by time. From the outside, it looked like many older hotels in the city, but the Cecil Hotel had a reputation, a long and unsettling history. Over the decades, the building had become associated with numerous tragedies. Several suicides had occurred there. Violent crimes had taken place inside its rooms. And during the 1980s, at least 2 serial killers had reportedly stayed at the hotel. One of them was Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker. Because of these events, some locals believed the building carried a dark past. Still, travelers continued to book rooms, mostly because the prices were affordable and the location was central. So Elisa Lam became one of the hotel's many guests. At first, her stay seemed ordinary. She explored the city, took photographs, and kept in contact with her family. But only a few days later, something strange would happen. On January 31st, 2013, a surveillance camera inside one of the hotel elevators recorded Elisa Lam. This would become the last confirmed footage of her alive. The video begins normally. Elisa enters the elevator. She steps toward the control panel and presses several buttons. But then, something unexpected happens. The elevator doors do not close. Instead, they remain open, waiting. Elisa leans forward slightly, looking out into the hallway. Then she quickly retreats into the corner, pressing herself against the wall, almost as if she's trying to stay out of sight. A few seconds pass. She cautiously steps forward again, peering into the corridor. Then she suddenly pulls back once more, as though reacting to something she sees. But whatever she's reacting to never appears in the video. Then the situation becomes even stranger. Elisa steps outside the elevator. She looks left, then right, almost like she's checking whether someone is nearby. Then she begins moving her hands, wide gestures, unusual movements, almost like she's explaining something, or responding to someone standing just outside the camera's view. But investigators would later confirm something unsettling. The hallway appears empty. No one else appears in the footage. And throughout the entire sequence, the elevator never moves. At first, investigators believed there might be a simple explanation. Perhaps Elisa was waiting for someone. Perhaps she was confused, or maybe the elevator itself was malfunctioning. Later, technicians examined the elevator system. They discovered something interesting. If multiple buttons were pressed in a certain pattern, the elevator could enter a temporary delay mode. In that mode, the doors could remain open longer than usual. This might explain why the doors never closed, but it didn't explain something far more disturbing. Why did Elisa behave as if someone else was there? Shortly after that recording, Elisa Lam disappeared. Days passed without any contact. Her family became concerned when she stopped checking in. Eventually, the Los Angeles Police Department launched an investigation. Officers searched the Cecil Hotel. Rooms were inspected. Hallways were examined. Search dogs were brought in. But the dogs failed to follow Elisa's scent beyond certain parts of the building. It was as if she had vanished. Inside a crowded hotel, filled with guests, staff, and security cameras. But 2 weeks later, something strange began happening inside the hotel. Guests started complaining about the water. Some said the water from the taps looked darker than usual. Others claimed it had a strange taste. Several guests reported unusual water pressure. At first, staff believed it was a plumbing issue. Maintenance workers were sent to inspect the system. Eventually, someone decided to check the rooftop water tanks, large containers that supplied water to the entire building. And when they opened one of the tanks, they made a disturbing discovery. Inside the tank, they found the body of Elisa Lam. The discovery shocked investigators, but it also created a new mystery. Because reaching those tanks was not simple. The hotel roof was supposed to be restricted. A locked door controlled access to the rooftop. According to hotel staff, that door was connected to an alarm system. If someone opened it, the alarm should have been triggered. But on the night Elisa disappeared, no alarm had been recorded. Investigators also noticed something else. The water tanks were tall. Heavy metal lids covered their openings. To climb inside, someone would have needed to reach the top of the tank, lift the lid, and lower themselves into the water, which raised a disturbing question. How did Elisa Lam get inside? When police released the elevator footage to the public, they hoped someone might notice something investigators had missed. But what happened next surprised everyone. The video spread rapidly across the internet. Millions of people watched it, analyzing every movement, every gesture. Online forums filled with discussion. Some viewers believed Elisa was being followed. Others believed someone might have been standing just outside the camera's view. Some slowed the video down frame by frame, searching for hidden details, trying to understand what she might have been reacting to. But the more people analyzed the video, the stranger it seemed. Over time, investigators considered several possible explanations. One theory suggested Elisa may have experienced a psychological episode. Reports indicated she had been prescribed medication for bipolar disorder. If medication levels become unstable, it can sometimes cause confusion or disorientation. But this explanation still leaves unanswered questions. How did she reach the roof? Why was there no alarm? And how did she enter the tank? Even today, many people remain uncertain. The Cecil Hotel has since undergone renovations. The building has even been renamed. But the mystery surrounding Elisa Lam continues to fascinate people around the world. The elevator footage remains one of the most analyzed videos on the internet. Investigators, journalists, and curious viewers have all studied it, looking for answers. But every time someone revisits the recording, the same question appears again. Not simply how Elisa Lam died, but what she believed was standing in that hallway. Because in one moment of the footage, Elisa steps toward the door. She pauses, looks into the corridor, and suddenly pulls back, as if something unexpected is there, something the camera never captured, something investigators could never identify. And perhaps the most unsettling part of the entire mystery is that we may never know what she saw.